Hey, what's up, guys? Shadow Steel here. Welcome back to Railworks Sundays, and to some extent, an old, long-running series here. There's a series on my channel that used to be called Workshop Showcase, where I would showcase certain scenarios in Railworks, or well, for the most part Railworks, because that was really the only place you could do that. And today I'm kind of bringing that back for a little bit. There's a series of scenarios for Tennessee Pass, and I really wanted to run Tennessee Pass again after a while, that use modern equipment. And today we're going to be running one of those scenarios called the let me see here, Pueblo Westbound. We're going to be running a train westbound here. So we're going to be running from here to, what's it? Manila, I think. So it's called, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, we're going to be running to the end of the track here, waiting for a train to come through. And you can see him right off in the distance there. So we got to pull up to the siding here. Hopefully he'll be clear by the time we get into the siding here. Sounds like he's coming in. Alright, shut her down. Alright, we're good. Got a 15-mile-an-hour limit here, so we gotta be careful of that. There he comes. We got another, I think it's an SD50. It's either an SD50 or an SD40, let's say. SD40s, SD40-2s actually. Got a couple of SD40-2s on the point there. And we're gonna wait for him to pass. It shouldn't be too long. So the scenario is kind of interesting. I did a run beforehand, kind of testing out how it looked or how it played. Not very bad. It's an end-to-end scenario. You gotta keep your eyes keep your eyes peeled for the first part of the scenario, because you are running into meets after meets after meets. You got 3 different meets on hand that we're dealing with here. Yep. I know. We wait for the traffic to clear. Okay, he's clear to switch now. There you go. Line the switch. We're clear. Got the clear. Got ahead. Alright, and we'll line the switch back once we get out, I think. At least I think. I don't know. Got a coal drag coming out there. What the hell? Oh yeah, that's right. This particular route has a particularly interesting bug that I've come across lately, so. If you look in certain angles, yeah, you can see it right back there. See the mountains kind of glitching out a little bit out there. I'm not sure why that's doing that, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, we're going to be running from here to Manila or something like that. We're going to be doing end-to-end. So. Okay. And we're running the SD50s today. So it's going to be a new set of locomotives for us. Okay, let me see what the switch stand is so I can actually see what's going to happen here. Alright, that's enough on the throttle here. I'll flip the switch back once we get over it. So yeah, we do have the older freight cars behind us. I'm not sure what the point. I'm not exactly sure why he did that in the scenario, but I'm assuming it's because he didn't want to add in routes like Soldier Summit to allow more modern freight equipment. But he's using the SD40-2 tunnel motors, which I believe come from Soldier Summit. So I'm assuming he does have it under his in the requirements here. Okay, switch is realigned. All right, now we can pick up speed. We're going about 40 miles an hour, so I'm going to notch it up all the way up. Notch it. Don't be late, boys. Man, that roll. I say what you will about DTM. Sometimes they get the sounds just right. Especially with these locomotives, it's beautiful. I just love the sounds of like a massive piece of machinery spooling up like that. Got our Mars light on the front. The headlights up the top. Come back at the cab here for a little bit. The track speed is about 40 miles an hour. We got traffic out ahead on the next track here. Okay. Wheel and tires. So yeah, I've been wanting to run this route for a little bit. Simply because of, I'm just going to move back a little bit here so I can actually see what I'm doing. Because it's this is one of those routes that looks beautiful in certain points of the year. For example, I'm running in the scenario set in spring, but I think the next two parts of the scenario are set in the summer. So it's rather interesting. I'm going to slow down here because we're picking up we're going to be flying up the line here. There you go. Actually, hold on. There we go. I get a good shot from here. Woo! Oh, hang on. Hang on. That tree might actually work out. I can find... There we go. That tree. There it is. Right there. Or is that a bush? Is that a bush? No, it's a tree. Nah, that's not a good shot. But I do have a thumbnail ready to go for this run. So we're doing pretty good here. Woo! Got the switches lined up ahead here. Let me make sure. And then let me see. Are we set for the main or are we set for the siding? It looks like we're set for the siding. Except for the siding here, so we need to flip the switch here. There we go, we're set for the main. Nope. Alright. I do like Tennessee Pass, just in general. Having a steam arrow route for the Denver and Rio Grande Western is actually quite nice. We do have the Rio Grande Southern, which I do plan to do another run with that route as well, simply because of what's going on with Rio Grande Southern number 20. If you don't know what's going on with that, you probably need to get your head out of your ass, honestly. But the Rio Grande Southern number 20 is heading for Durango, essentially, to run on the Durango and Silverton for a bit, which is, I believe, part of her home turf, because I think the Rio Grande Southern ended in Durango, and the Silverton branch was part of the Denver and Rio Grande Western. It'll be actually kind of fun to see like the train back on semi-home rails. Because the T19s, because the Denver and Rio Grande Western, I believe, did have some T19s in their roster, but they're more known for the Ks. So it'll be interesting to see that locomotive running on another foreign railroad, because you have to keep in mind she's always based at the Colorado Railroad Museum, so she's going to be on rails that the crew's not going to be familiar with, and not only that, but like much tougher. I feel like just as tough territory as the Cumbres and Toltec, because the Cumbres and Toltec, it's tough. If I'm not mistaken, that railroad is pretty tough. It's like 4% grades, almost pretty constant 4% grade, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna get screwed pretty easily. But I think the Durango and Silverton is tougher in a different reason, because you're going to be going up more of a mountain pass. It's like directly alongside the mountains. It also doesn't. It's also kind of sad right now because the Durango and Silverton's had been suffering from flooding the past couple of days, and it's kind of. I'm glad that things have worked out. Like they managed. I think the last time I checked, they've gotten things set up for them to continue running trains again. But the way the railroad is set up, it's very difficult, if you will, to run trains when half your rails are underwater. So. Yeah, there's a the Denver Rio Grande West. One of the big things about the Tennessee Pass, if I'm not mistaken, one of the problems with it. I'm gonna clear up here. Oh, we're on the siding here. Jesus Christ. One of the things with it was that the railroad itself, more often than not, like had to deal with a lot of flooding. What the hell? He's not even here. We have to wait for traffic, I guess. Yeah, we're waiting, I guess. We're gonna slow down with the hill. But the rail bed, because of how they set it up so close to the river in some areas that they, it was one of those things where, like, the rail bed would wash away pretty quick, regularly. At least I think. I'm not sure about the details. It was high maintenance, for sure. It was mountain railroading, it was high maintenance. So, the idea of the, coming up from the siding here, I'm going to stop just shy of the signal because I don't know if we're going to be needing to go through here. We managed to make it on time, though. Easy does it. He says to go via this waypoint, but I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to stop shy of it. We're coming up this, because there should be a train on the next track over, but I distinctly see no train. Alright. Stop playing the brakes here. Alright, we're going to stop here. Hit the brakes. Oh, there he is. I see him. He's coming onto the siding now, actually, interestingly enough. Stop here. We're going to stop here. Oh, we stopped right in front of the signal here. Nice. Alright, we're good. Gotta wait for him to clear. See, this one, there's a couple modern freight cars in this pack, right there, on that train. Not very much. Right. Should get the clear. Alright, we're clear. Got 3 notches on the throttle. Yeah, we're clear outbound. Ooh! Little jolt there. Right, we got the clear. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the Denver, it was also the fact that Southern or Union Pacific at the time did not want to maintain the trackage because Lord knows they had plenty of other different avenues of getting trains out west, with the main one being the transcontinental route between Ogden, Utah and Sacramento, basically the old Transcon line. So because Southern Pacific owned the Denver and Rio Grande Western and technically also owns the Union Pacific Railroad, yes, that is a thing. The Southern Pacific still lives, or actually the Denver and Rio Grande still lives. That's actually kind of a fun little story there. I'll link a video from Heiss about it, but he talks about how the Union Pacific Railroad is not actually the Union Pacific Railroad. It is actually the Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad, because the management is actually of the Denver and Rio Grande Western. It's not actually of the Union Pacific. And it just happened to be that when the Denver is just a more iconic name. I mean, people are going to remember the Union Pacific Railroad more than everywhere around the western United States, more than they're going to know the Denver and Rio Grande Western. You know, argue that as much as you will, but it's kind of funny to think that the Denver and Rio Grande Western is still around in a sense. All right, we got full throttle here. But yeah, I believe the Union Pacific mainly did not want to maintain the rail bed and everything, to maintain the line. And plus, it was just only a through freight corridor. There was no local traffic to speak of in this area. Almost all the lines had closed by 1996, which is when they closed the line down. And it was either that all the lines had closed had closed their rail traffic, or that they were just shipping things closed entirely, or they started shipping things via road. And which is kind of unfortunate, but it was one of those things where it was like, there was like so many other ways to get around the line. Now, I think a small portion of this railroad still operates, albeit a tourist railroad. We got a clear block ahead. Got it. I believe it's the Royal Gorge Railroad still operates to this day under the portions of the Tennessee Pass route. Oh, hello. But it's one of those things where it's like, oops, Jesus, I'm flying up the line again. But it's one of those things where I actually like, it's really kind of interesting to know that this chunk of railroad doesn't exist anymore in its original form. It's also worth noting, and this is kind of interesting, that this used to be 3-foot gauge. This entire segment of the railroad, in fact, the entirety of the Denver and Rio Grande Western, early in its life, was standard gauge, was narrow gauge. But they quickly converted to, I believe this in a sense, they quickly converted to standard gauge when they realized, oh, the power that we need is available in standard gauge. We just need a lot of it. But yeah, like I think a lot of the railroad, including Tennessee Pass, was still narrow gauge for a while. I mean, you have the line, like the entire 3rd Division was narrow gauge up until about 1950. But the 3rd Division now is all, or much of it is standard gauge. So, what the hell? Where are we going? We're going on the main here. Alright, we're good down here. Are we waiting for another train up here? We better keep an eye on this. I don't know if there's another train coming our way. That's Riverside. Wasn't even paying attention there. I was talking too much. We're clear outbound by the looks of it. Okay. Yeah, we're clear outbound. So we're going through, I think Princeton is where we're going to have our next meet. So we're going to be going out that way. Alright, we're good. Alright, we're coming up through Riverside. Wonder where the river is. Oh, I have the bell on still. How long have I had the bell on? Probably since I departed. Part of that siding there. There's no... Oh, there's river. There's the river. That's funny. Hell, I mean, it's true to what they are. It's Riverside. I feel like the Riverside siding should be a little bit closer to the river, though. Alright, here we go. And we've got a flashing green up there by the looks of it. Yep. We're expecting a meet up at Princeton, so it will be kind of interesting there. Look. So we need to keep an eye on the signals and keep an eye on everything. So we're going to be stopping at Princeton, which depending on how long this video goes, that might be our midway point. We should be good. Actually, how long have I been recording for? Already 20 minutes, not bad. Pick up some speed here. Alright. Quite alright. Let me double check on our switch alignment. Should be good all the way through. We should be... Yes, I think we're good on this line. 9. Make sure we're lined in there. We might be on the right track. Pun intended. Alright, here we go. We got a crossing coming up here. I've run... This is the second time I've run this locomotive, and it's actually not bad. I'm a little impressed. I mean, again, it's DTM. I'm not going to expect much from them. DTM and high iron simulations are kind of the same group in that... Are kind of one and the same, I feel, at this point. And a lot of high iron stuff is just using DTM rolling stock and equipment, so... Post over there. Let's get to go. Alright, we're good. Play it through. Passing by farm. Horn's not too great, but it's not too bad either. Flinging around this curve. Let's see. Are we lined correctly? Don't know yet. We'll know in a few minutes here. We're going to be meeting an intermodal up ahead here. Kind of an intermodal week, funnily enough. High green. Got the high green just up ahead. Let me double check the line here. Yeah, we're lined to the siding. Go ahead and line that there. Now we're lined to the main. Got it. All right. I gotta admit, like, it's kind of funny to see older rolling stock behind the train, especially when you're dealing with this kind of massive steel and stuff. So, let me kick up some speed here. All right, keep it moving, keep it moving. Run. One thing I've learned is that damn it. If there's one thing I've learned about this route so far is that it's not easy to run at high speeds and pay attention to what you're fucking doing. Alright, should have... Yeah, we're on the main there. We are going to that siding over there. Coming up to the crossing here. Alright, slow her down. Coming up to the siding up here. You see the signal up there. I'll probably cut the throttle back in a little bit. Alright. We're not a very long train, but I feel like we're supposed to be a local regardless. Oh, Lord. Yep. Air coming out. Air hissing. A little bit more throttle on there. Got the, we should get the, okay, we have a clear for some reason. I know we don't have a clear. We have a train in front of us. Three blasts on the horn. Make sure we're clear. Make sure we're coming to a stop. Well, I say that and then proceed to notch up the throttle again. There's a couple old series on my channel that I have not touched in years. One of them used to be a series called Screenshot of the Week, and it was like it was part of my old server, one of the servers I was on for a long time. And we had like a screenshot contest every year, and it's like some people like it was one of those things where it's like I think the only reason I stopped doing it was A, barely anybody participated, and B, I got butthurt one year over a screenshot of that looks stupid. Like, to me, it looks stupid, but I guess everybody else liked it. So can't say again. It's one of those things where it's like I want to say, and it was just like I was participating, yet it was my series, I guess you could say. So, like, I would, like, literally say, like, it would be it's a series on my channel, and yet I'm participating in the exact contest. A little bias, a little bit of a bias right there, don't you think? Okay, I hear the locomotive coming in the way. Yeah, there they are. I see them. And track 2 there. Should be on track 2. Yeah, there they are. Yep, here's the intermodal coming around the tracks here. A little bit of a meet here. Not too bad. Not too shabby. Again, 2 tunnel motors, but I'm not exactly sure why they're tunnel motors on that on this long freight here. Got quite a bit of cars out here, almost like. You'll soon see it. Quite a bit of cars. I kind of like. Again, this is supposed to be a steam era route, and yet we've got this giant intermodal freight coming through. On the siding, mind you. Technically, we are supposed to be on the. We're like a train like this. We were supposed to be on the siding while the intermodal gets on the main. Come to a stop here. Wait for him to clear. Okay. Got a little bit of a time, little bit of a wait here while we kind of get things going. A little slow, but he's not got a lot of power for this train. All right. Yep. Yep. Expect a clear run to Malta after the train clears. Sorry. Remember to set the switches manually. Got it. Wait for him to clear the siding there. You can see how many cars he's got behind him. It basically fits. It just barely fits on the siding, so. But the amount of cars he's got behind him, and those 2 ST40-2 tunnel motors behind it, like, I don't think that would be prototypical for this route. I think you would have like 5 or 6 of these things on the front end here. And again, it's not like, I'm not blaming the guy. It sounds like he doesn't have, like, he's not an American, so he's not running. He's not like, he's probably more familiar with some videos of the early days of Tennessee, like later days of Tennessee Pass, where he's like not wanting to use as many assets as other people are with these with this route. So, but yeah, there's a few errors here and there with this scenario, but I'm not gonna blame. Again, it's not like I don't see a problem with it, to be fair, because I know for a fact he's like working his hard. Why is this kind of green? The signaling on this railroad is just strange, I gotta admit. I'm assuming this is. Yeah, I'm assuming this is the signal just past the switch here. I'm assuming there's a signal under this track here where it's kind of telling us we don't have clearance. Oh, God. Oh, boy. Yawning a bit. 5506, eh? That's the lead locomotive here? Not bad. Alright, so let me see here. Okay, the last car in the train's about ready to clear here. And then we're straight shotting all the way up to Malta, which is up here. But we gotta be, like, when we get to here, like, so we're gonna have to stop here. Okay, I see. So, oh, that's a stop. What? That's interesting. Interesting. So you have to stop there and get the switches going. Okay, fair enough. Unless that's actually for one of the other trains, because there's a train that's doing yard switching out there. I'm wondering if that's for that and not the actual, like, not for our train here. Okay. Okay, he's clearing the switch right now. Quite the intermodal, honestly. Behind the switch. Clear to proceed. What? The jolt. Every time I get moving here, it just jolts forward. You hear the brakes coming off. Alright, coming off. Off we go! Oops. There we go. About 30 minutes already. Okay, not bad. But I'm keeping an eye on the recording, so I want to make sure I don't overdo like the timing and whatnot. They said 70 minutes for the scenario to run. And I did last time I ran the scenario, which was the test, or the testing of the scenario. It took over 2 hours, about 2 hours to get from point A to point B. So I'm gonna try and get this done as quick as possible. See what we can do. All right. Not Jade, don't be late. The roaring of the engines. Yeah, this route, honestly, I love the way this route looks. I ran it, like I said, I ran this route before on the series. I was using the steam locomotive, which, by the way, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I actually have my first mod releasing, first sound mod releasing for this game in a long time. Again, it's one of those things where I used to make, I make a ton of mods for Railworks, and I just never really liked the whistle on the L131s. And when I looked into the files, it was using a 6 chime. Those big articulates never used a 6 chime. Not only that, but I could clearly tell it was a Reading 6 chime. So it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, no, we're not going to still use this Reading 6 chime. So probably in the future video, I'll actually like show off that whistle mod a little bit, because not only did I switch the whistle, but I also switched the bell. I'm still doing some fine tuning on it a little bit, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's such an old, like the bell and everything. Like it's from a K36, I want to say. Yeah, it got to be a K36 at least. But I got a bell off a K class from a video, and I got the whistle. Funnily enough, it's an ND&M Hooter, which is, you know, the Mexican railroads. But it's an ND&M Hooter, which later I found out was an N&W Hooter, 8-inch N&W 8-inch Hooter, actually off of 475, which is also quite hilarious. But it was one of those things where it's like, I gotta really fix this. And the reason I wanted to fix that was because I know for a fact those locomotives did not have Reading 6 chimes. Many of the whistles that are coming out of, like, many of the whistles of all the Rio Grande stock that's out there, mainly the Rio Grande locomotives, whether it be for, like, any steam locomotives that are that are in this game that are narrow gauge, because the Colorado Southern, the Clear Creek route is the same way. They use a Reading 6 chime for all of their locomotives, and Lord knows that's not the correct whistle. I mean, the Colorado Southern did not use Reading 6 chimes. They might have used 6 chimes on their locomotives. They might have used 5 chimes. I would assume more of a 5 chime, honestly. But like the Rio Grande Southern route, they have the Reading 6 chime sound effect. It's very stock. It's a very stock Reading 6 chime. I mean, if you've run those locomotives, you've heard that whistle. So, but yeah, it's legit kind of both annoying and funny that they just use that same whistle for every steam locomotive. And I'm not blaming the guys at Milepost. It's an easy sound file. It's very simple. It's like you can actually work with it pretty well. But I mean, I actually made the Hooter pretty nice. I want to say fairly nicely, and I'll kind of show it off maybe in another video, but or maybe at the end of this video. I actually have a clip of it for the end card, I guess. But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this needs to be fixed because I don't think they carried 6 chimes on them. Now the bell does need to be adjusted for. It needs to be louder, honestly. But that's because that could be more done later. I've been trying to boost up. I might just boost up the audio on the actual file. Okay, here we go. Coming through the siding here. Got a couple screenshots that are actually pretty decent for the video thumbnail, so I'll give a couple of them a try. Clear. Where's an approach? That's a clear. I think. I couldn't tell. We keep maintaining our speed here. Where are we exactly? We are down here. Let me make sure we're going to go down here. Okay. Oh, we're already lined for it. Good. I'm picking up speed. Doing quite well. Still picking up speed. I'll shut her down a bit. Nope, slow down. I'll shut down the throttle entirely here? What's our grade? Oh, we're on a level grade here. Shut her down. There's a couple mods I need to work on, honestly, for this game. I also need to work on the devlog for the Blackwater branch. I haven't made a devlog for that route in a while. And, yeah, Lord knows I need to fix that. Because I haven't done, like, that's one of those routes. Like, I think I'm going to do an end of the year devlog for it because I released the route just I remember I released that route, Blackwater Branch, a year earlier this year in March. And I haven't really worked on it too much, but I think I'm going to do a devlog and probably get back into working with it. So, because I've been taking a long break from really constructing that route, and I really need to get into working with it. So. Whipping around the corner here. Post here.